Hi there, welcome to part 2, video 2 of looking at Axis and Ohs, the ATC bridge and how it works with the Stream Deck. There is a part 1, it probably won't make much sense this video unless you've seen part 1, so look in the description below for a link to that. If you prefer, I've also done a complete version with all the various parts put together into a single video, so again that is linked in the description below. So this is video 2, looking at how to use a multi-tile gauge on a Stream Deck so that I can display the air traffic control options and make these buttons active. So I'm in the cockpit of my C172, and as you saw in the previous video that we can use the bridge software, the ATC bridge, to bring the text strings out as local variables, LVARs, that we can use. We can use them on the Stream Deck. So if I bring my Stream Deck software in, what I want to do is to create a folder here to start with, and I'll call it my new ATC. And if we click on there, we're into a complete blank setup. It's not a profile, it's a folder, because it means I can go back quite easily where I came from. If I just press the back button there, that takes me back. So I'm pressing this button here, and we're back in this area here. So what I want to do is to use a multi-tile. The layout I'm going to use is I need 2 buttons for the text that comes up on the options. There's too much text to fit on one button, so I'm going to combine 2 buttons together. So I'll have option 1, option 2, option 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 here. So I'm going to use these 2 together. So I need to use a multi-tile gauge. If I just slide that a bit. I'm using a multi-tile gauge. I don't need a title on it, but I'm just going to I want to use the colours to distinguish the sort of groups of buttons together. So I'm going to use say a light blue as the background on here. Now I need to tell it how big this grid is going to be, and it's going to be 2 across and 1 down. And I need to look at this thing called a text definition. Let's try and get a bit more room for this. There we are. The significance of this will show much later on, but at the moment there's no definition for how my text is going to work, so I need to add a new text definition, and we need to give it a title. It doesn't matter what it's called particularly technically, but this is going to be for option 1 of from here. We'll be displaying option 1, so I call it opt1. Don't need to worry about the visibility at the moment, that's going to come again much later, but I do need to tell it what the variable is I'm looking for. So it's an LVAR, and it's this one here, the ATC option 1. So it's case sensitive, you do have to get the case absolutely spot on, and it needs to have string after it, and it has to be again a comma, a space, capital S, string, otherwise it just doesn't work. Okay, so we're looking at that variable there. I'm going to align it to the left, and I want it to be able to split the text. If the text is too long, I want to be able to wrap it into a number of different lines, so we'll say yes. I've explored this, and for me the minimum width 18 works. We don't need to worry about this here. I want to shift it from the left hand side of the button just a little bit so it doesn't clash with the frame. So just going to put 5 pixels in, and fairly close to the top as well, so 20 pixels down. And I explored that for the font size 30 works quite well. Because we chose that light blue background, I'm going to choose black text for that, and we click on save here, So we've saved that profile of how we want the text to be displayed using a name opt1. Don't worry about exactly what it does at the moment. But there are, you can see that it's actually put the display in here, and it wants to wrap over onto the next button as well. I want to make it an active button, so I'm going to go into the button settings at the bottom here, and I want it to send this command. I want it to send the ACT menu option 1, and I have to put a 1 just to say that it's active, it's happening, and we'll submit that. So now in theory we've got a working button, but I want to use this second one here. So the best way to do that is to copy that and paste it in here, and you can see it's replicating tile 1. I need to tell it actually your tile 2, and now if I submit that, you can see it's showing me both bits of text. So if I press that option 1, it should tune me to shore and ground, so I should see these buttons change. So if I press this button on my stream deck, now I'm pressing this button here, you can see that the menus have changed. Okay, let's do another one. Let's do one down here. Let's do option number 2. So it's the same process. Again, I'm going to choose the same color blue. Just I have this column as blue and this one as, say, green or something, just to differentiate the buttons. Okay, so we're going through exactly the same process we did before. So we're starting afresh. It's a 2x1 grid, and we need to create a text definition for this button. So we're adding a new text definition, and this one will be opt2. Not worry about the visibility, but we do need to tell it which string to look for. So it's the ATC option 2. It's a string. I'm going to center it to the have it centered this time, not over to the left, just to show you the difference between them, so you can choose which you prefer. So again, we need to split the text, and again the width is 18. You can play with these figures here and see what looks best for you. And this time we're going to have to shift it so it centers around 144. Each of these buttons is 144 pixels wide, so I want it to center around that point there. So we're shifting it there. Still about 20 from the top. Font size still 30. Black text. So we kept everything the same except that centering thing. So you can see it's begun to center that there. Let's make it a working button. So my button settings here. It's a K event. ATC menu underscore 2. Don't forget to tell it that it's going to happen. We use the 1 there to make it happen, and we'll submit that. Now I could do the same as before, copy it, paste it across, make sure that's the active button that you're looking at there. That's position number 2, and that's what it looks like when it's centered. So it's whether you like it slammed to the left or centered, it's just sort of a design choice. I'm going to pause my recording now, and I will fill in all the rest of them and just show you what it looks like at the end. Okay, back again. So I have now put in all the different buttons. I've decided I quite like the centering, so I'm going to go with centered, I think. Just have a quick recap of the general settings. So generally you pick a background color. You can have different background colors for the different buttons, that's not a problem. You need to tell it how big the grid's going to be. So I always do the first button first, and then make a copy, and then adjust here to say it's position number 2 for this one. Nothing to do with the images, it's all to do with the text definitions. So I've got a different text definition for each of the pairs of buttons. It doesn't really carry over. You can't do copies and pastes and things like that from button to button. Just within the pairs, it seems to work. That's the variable it's looking at to get the data, and I'm centered. I'm splitting the text so it can go on multiple lines. Minimum width seems to be 18. That seems to work with a font size of 30. So it's centered around the 144 pixels, and I've shifted it down about 20 pixels. I've chosen a black colour because it seems to stand out quite nicely against a pastel background. Click on save, and then the button setting is a key event, ACT menu, and then whichever button you're working on. I'm working on button 2 here. Don't forget to put the value 1 and submit. So that works. The one to watch out for here is this last one here. This be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Button number 10. Option number 10, button number 10, but actually you're looking at option 0. It uses single digits for this, so that will be looking for string at 0. There isn't actually anything in string 10 for us to display at the moment. It really only comes up when you're looking for the nearest airports. So equally with the button setting for that one, you'll be looking at ATC menu 0, and there it is, it's working. So if I wanted to tune for the ATC, I press on this button here, and you should see the ATC string come up in here. I've got my sound off at the moment, so you can't actually hear it announcing, but it's there. And if I tune to shore and ground now, so I'm going to be pressing on this button here. We're back in shore and ground again. Let's request a taxi. Let's do what we did before. So we'll and I can hear it talking through my headphones, but you won't be able to hear that at the moment. But now I've got the ability to acknowledge my taxi clearance, so you can see all the buttons are changing here. Let's acknowledge my taxi clearance. And the buttons have changed again. So that's it, that's how it works. Okay, so video number 3, we'll be looking at a technique to put the text for the ATC and what the air traffic control actually says on these buttons here. So that'll be the content of video number 3.